Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, thank you so very much. I do appreciate anyone and everyone that takes the time to come and check out the Spaceman. So here I am, cruising through the black, just browsing Reddit. Came across a subreddit called Creepy Encounters. I'd like to share a couple stories that I found browsing through here. But just a heads up, the material could be considered very adult and a little disturbing, so viewer discretion is advised. First up, groomed at youth camp. Content warning, SA and childhood abuse. TLDR and message. Be careful to let your children know and tell a responsible adult if and when something feels wrong in a youth camp or retreat. Let them know it isn't their fault. It may just save them from something worse. Over the past few years, I've been realizing the traumas I suffered as a kid. It's helping me come to terms with the reasons for my behavior since my teen years: lying, manipulation, major control issues, and other generally peculiar behavior. These traumas condition me to behave in ways that have made it difficult for me to trust anyone and form relationships. This is one such trauma story about a guy I'll call A. We were at a Christian youth camp. I was 14 and he was 25. At this point, I'd had quite an emotionally, physically, and spiritually abusive home life in various ways. So I was in the beginnings of my peculiar, rebellious behavior and wasn't a trusting person. Along came A. He seemed kind, paid attention to me, had all the same interests as me. He was keen to spend time with me and would often find me alone when I wanted to write in the little journal I'd started. He was very keen to see the journal. He insisted at times and tried to snatch it off me. I'm not certain he didn't steal and read it at some point. A was well-liked and generally affable and witty. The young girls especially took a liking to him and wanted to play volleyball with him, have him read storybooks, go to the beach. So I felt special. I felt seen in a way that I hadn't been before. A was so keen to know me, spend time with me, hug me. Things got weird when he asked me to go for a walk with him in the hills. I agreed. At some point on the hill walk, he got onto the topic of sex and asked me if I liked guys. I told him that I didn't know, but that I didn't think so, and wasn't ready for anything sexual either way. He went on to talk at length about these straight guys that he quote-unquote knew, who used to perform oral sex on one another just for the gratification. At 14, I shouldn't have been stupid enough to believe him. He went on and on about blowjobs. When we got back, he kissed me out of the blue. He made it clear he wanted to do more and told me he liked the idea of receiving oral. I made it clear I wasn't interested. That's when he said, this being a faith camp, in an ostensibly joking manner, what a shame it would be for them all to find out what had happened, implying that they may find out more than just a kiss. I panicked, not realizing he'd be fucking himself over more than he ever would be affecting my life. Later that evening, something did happen. I won't go into it. All I'll say is that he was in control and could tell I was very uncomfortable. The day after, he was so vile to me, and I couldn't understand why. Being verbally cruel and suddenly not wanting to spend any time with me. This kindness, warmth, interest in my feelings, it was all gone. Switched off completely. I don't know why, but I hated that. I wanted for some stupid reason for him to talk with me again. He made me uncomfortable, and he'd confuse me, hurt me, made me feel quite powerless, but I still just wanted him to like me. Now, I find that truly baffling. Ultimately, he did turn on the charm again, which led him to pulling the same trick and mentioning what a shame it would be if all these people found out about the event. I felt so stupid and gullible for it having worked again. The creepiness here is that everyone liked him. Everyone wanted to sit with him at the lunch table. Everyone wanted him at their beach hangouts. The young kids wanted him to read them stories. The older guardians wanted him to look out for people. And the extra creepiness is the ease with which he profoundly confused and tricked me. I guess the message is that faith camps can be pretty fucked up places. If you ever send your children to one, make sure they know how to tell an adult if they suspect anything is wrong, or if they get unusual vibes from another camper. For the love of God, let them know that if someone does make them feel uncomfortable, it's not their fault. They're not impure. They need to know that so that they'll have the confidence to discern right from wrong and tell an adult. Wow, OP. So sorry that this piece of shit totally manipulated your emotions and mind fucked you that whole time. Truly a piece of fucking shit. Next up, my mom's friend. When I was 7 years old, my mom and father got a divorce. This event prompted her to move and follow her career in a different small town which would pay better, as she was a single parent now. On our long 12-hour drive to the new location, we stopped on the way in this little town which was very
hippie.
Sort of had lots of art, little shops, etc. My mom said we were here to meet up with her friend, Paulette. I guess they went way back in their college days and recently got in touch after a decade. We end up going to this East Indian restaurant where we would meet for dinner. This slender, somewhat fragile woman walks in. She was very tall, well over 6 feet. Big, frizzy, curly brown hair with blonde streaks in it. She was Caucasian, wearing a colorful shawl with feather earrings, with very pale blue eyes. She looked like a mosaic tapestry or something. She walks over to the table and gives my mom a greeting and big hug. Makes her way over to my older brother and shakes his hand. After comes around to my side of the table. I lend my hand out to her, and she just stood there, expressionless, with her mouth partly open with a blank gaze, just staring at me. It briefly made me uncomfortable, and then a flick of a switch, this spark ignites her face. She makes this huge Cheshire cat smile, kneels over, and hugs me tightly. She goes back to sit with my mom and they catch up over the years while we eat dinner. My mom gets the bill and says to her in the parking lot, "You can just follow us," to Paulette. We get in the car and my mom explains to us, Paulette is actually coming over to live with us for a while. She followed us for the next several hours. We get to the new place and unpack our necessity items, as we had a moving truck hired with the rest of our stuff arriving in the morning. There was a bunk bed already set up at this place for me and my brother. It was fairly late into the night, roughly 11 p.m. when we arrived. Me and my brother set up our sleeping bags. I take the top bunk. My mom says goodnight. I fell asleep pretty quickly. I wake up around 1:30 a.m. I guess the patio deck light got turned on, which was right beside our room. I gazed out through the blinders and I see the back of Paulette's curly hair. She was sitting on the deck, cross-legged, smoking a cigarette. I didn't think much of it and lay back down, until I noticed the light from the window gets partly blocked out. I look behind me with my head still on the pillow. I see the unmistakable outline of Paulette's shadow facing my window. She was there for a few minutes. I didn't want to lean up. I just pretended to sleep. Her shadow moves and I hear the front door close. The patio light turns off after a few minutes. I reposition myself facing the wall to go back to sleep. And as I begin to drift off, the door of our room opens slowly, and I quickly turned my head around. It wasn't my mom. It's Paulette wearing a nightgown. I turn back facing the wall and close my eyes. She quietly makes her way to my bunk. I feel her fingers in a claw formation start to comb the back of my hair, running her nails on the back of my scalp. I kept my eyes closed tightly, nearly holding my breath, trying to give no signs I'm awake. I smell some essential oils like lavender, and she starts rubbing oil onto the back of my neck and pinching the back of my neck muscle, sometimes holding it and releasing. I begin to kinda just accept whatever is happening, because it didn't feel all that bad after a while. I actually end up falling asleep to it after my initial confusion. Whoa. I wake up in the morning. My mom is off at work and Paulette is waiting at the table with cereal for me and my brother. She put chocolate chips in my bowl and not my brother's. My brother and I make small talk with her. She was very giggly, seemed to be trying to make us comfortable with the new situation. My brother heads back to his room to set up his GameCube after his cereal. I was a slower eater than my older brother, so I was always the last at the table. As I slowly ate, she was sitting there watching my every move. Once I finished, I said, "Thank you," and grabbed my bowl to bring it to the sink. She places her hand on mine and says,
"I gave you a neck massage so you wouldn't pee your bed. I know lots of young ones pee beds when they sleep in unfamiliar surroundings."
I looked up at her and said, "I never peed my bed before, but thank you." She continued to massage the back of my neck for the next few nights. I ended up telling her, "I'm comfortable here now, you don't need to do this anymore." She reacted to that with a sigh, but acknowledged it. I started elementary school the following week, which meant getting earlier night sleeps around 8 p.m. Her and my mom would stay up much later than me and brother and drink wine. I always waited for them to go to bed before I used the washroom at night to go pee, because my mom would kinda scold me for being up late on weeknights. Once things got quiet around 11 in the house, I'd sneak out and tippy-toe to go out and use the washroom. This was my ritual for the next few weeks, until Paulette started doing the exact same thing, at the same time. Every time. Every night when I needed the washroom, it just so happened Paulette needed it too, and she would blaze down the hallway across from my room when I'd open the door. I'd just go back to my room and wait for her. It started happening so frequently, I would just go outside to pee from the back mudroom door. This started to piss me off. No pun intended. I'd open my door as quietly as I could and then sprint to the washroom. This seemed effective for a while. One night I get up slightly later than usual, around 12. I was a little more careless with the noise because I was half asleep / groggy. I opened the door and Paulette's door just slams open instantly. She barges out in the dimly moonlit hallway, completely naked, and just starts quickly walking down the hallway. I was already so far down the hallway, I couldn't turn back to my room. I jump behind my mom's jade plant and squish my knees to my chest and tuck my head down. She whizzes straight by me so fast, I felt wind push my hair. She stays in the washroom for almost an hour with the door open a crack, lights off, in silence. I stayed there beside the washroom, tucked in the corner behind the plant pot, not making a sound. I hear the washroom door open completely, and she starts pacing up and down the hallway. I keep small and insignificant behind the plant until she goes back into her room. Good golly gosh damn. I brushed this off as a complete accident. It was just unfortunate timing. But no, every night going forward, she would literally sprint down the hallway naked if I'd make a single noise, creak the floorboard, open my door, etc. About 2 months into this, me and my brother were sword fighting with tree branches outside. He ends up clipping my forehead, causing it to bleed pretty bad. Paulette sees this happen. She walks up to my brother, what I thought would be to scold him, but no, she stomp kicks him in the head with her boot, causing him to fall back on his back. He gets up off the ground crying and runs into the house. She grabs me and starts cradling me, rocking back and forward. She's shaking so much that she was vibrating, repeatedly asking, "Are you hurt?" in a shaky voice. Anyway, my mom finds out through my brother what happened and decides she had to leave. Her final day. She made a point to see me one-on-one in the driveway before entering her car. She knelt down and said, "I hope I can see you in a different life. You remind me so much of my husband. Goodbye, my name," and starts bawling her eyes out, hugging me. I asked my mom who her husband was. I guess he was a Marine that died in Afghanistan a few months prior to her moving in with us. Mom said she would frequently say how much I reminded her of him on a daily basis. My mom hasn't spoke to her since. I never told my mom about the massages or anything to this day, as she was already exiled and I felt it would just cause more drama. Jeez, OP, you were only 7 years old and this lady was trying to get you. He's in the bathroom, she naked. I'm so happy you didn't get caught in that situation, man. I don't know about you guys, but I had some hair standing up at certain points of this story. Anyway, this wraps it up, folks. If you guys did enjoy this type of content, let me know. I'd be more than happy to cover a few more. But for now, it's time I move on. Thank you again. I do appreciate you joining me. Please drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and also consider a subscription. The Spaceman is trying to grow. Anyway, friends, I shall see you soon. CB signing off. 07.